One.
All right, guys, you can begin.
All right, so good afternoon, class. Good afternoon, Mr. Besu. We members of Group 10, consisting of Purnell Wallace, Dexter Noel, and myself, Gad Jacob. We would be doing chapter 15 from the text Leadership Experience by R.L. DAFT, and it deals with leading change. Right, our expected outcomes as all effective leaders should be able to identify social and economic pressure and the need for change, know the 8-stage model and gradual strategies for change, expand and foster organization innovation in others and oneself, and use the use of tools, participative technology to overcome resistance, and address negative impact of change humanly and effectively. Recognizing the need for change. It is often said that the only constant is change. The ability to recognize change is important. Change in organizations today considered to be a difficult undertaking. The recognition for change in any organization is crucial to their survival in today's environment. A hard but interesting fact about change is that most people don't like change. 2/3, by some estimates, 2/3 of all organizational change efforts fail. Scientific studies suggest that people tend to resist change even when their lives depend on it. It goes further to say in one study, 90% of patients who had coronary artery bypass surgery, for example, don't change their lifestyle habits, even for seemingly simple changes that would save their lives. It speaks to us being creatures of habits and not embracing change easily. The solution to this is better change leadership. It was Maya Angelou who would have best said in one of her quotes about change, if you can't change it, change your attitude. But you know, to bring it home in local parlance, you could say, or do something according to Patrice, drink your water and probably mind your business. But we'll treat with that another day. Recognizing the need for change, today's organization face immense challenges from social and economical changes. Within organization, leaders almost encounter some degree of resistance when they attempt to implement change. However, such change is necessary if the organization is to survive, thrive. In order to be successful, organizations have to perpetually be changing and adapting to keep pace with the external environment. This is critically influenced by environmental forces such as technological change, technological advance. And this refers to the idea of improving existing technologies, developing new ones to improve existing products and create new ones. The whole process helps in creating new markets and new market structures and destroying obsolete markets. In today's environment, organizational technology is evolving rapidly. For example, the use of artificial intelligence, automation, robotics, smartphones, smart vehicles, etc., have changed the way that business is being done. The global economy. The global economy refers to the increasing independence of world economics as a result of growing scale of cross-border trades of commodities and services, the flow of international capital, and widespread of technology. Again, change cannot be viewed only in our country's context, but it has now to encompass a wider international context. Example that when we start to look at it, CARICOM, which is the CARICOM market, NAFTA, the European Union, etc. Shift in the geopolitical forces. And this indicates the direction of change in the value and needs, which are driven by forces that manifest itself already in various ways within groups in society. Example, geopolitics, world geopolitics are changing. And traditionally, if we all would recall, the United States of America was committed to a role as the enforcer of the geopolitical order in the world. This has since changed, and they are more concerned with their internal policy rather than issues on foreign policy. This disengagement allows the rise of other global powers, such as China, Russia, the European Union, to name a few, competing with and sharing the role of the global leader. It encompasses the concept of power and influence, and we would have done that just recently, and you understand how power and influence would make the world go wrong and how it's used to achieve a particular end, right? E-business growth. Any business that takes place by digital processes over a computer network rather than in a physical space is considered e-business. E-business has grown exponentially over the years and changed the way that organizations, both private and public, have conducted business to the benefits of their customers. This has seen the utilization of e-commerce with commercial transactions now occurring over the internet. Examples of that, we have Amazon, eBay, Alibaba, to name a few. And just as an example to show how this economical change has changed consumerism in the world, they said just in 2020, US customers spent approximately $861 billion by way of e-commerce alone. Internet and the rapid spread of information. The internet is a global collection of computer networks linked together for the exchange of data and information. It is critical to the disseminating and retrieval of information on a real-time basis, which may be crucial for decision-making, for change leaders in conducting business on the World Wide Web, etc. And then we move to the final one, which is changing markets and changes in the socio-economic position that affect supply and demands of commodities that dictate market prices will definitely affect the profitability and economic growth of an organization. And to bring this to realization, the example is now that Russian-Ukraine war is really working out for us in Trinidad and Tobago because it's causing the oil price to go up along with other commodities such as wheat and flour, etc. And change leaders have to take note and plan for these changes in the market. We may be required for change leaders to be successful. in Trinidad and Tobago, right? These three gentlemen on your screen here, and if I ask you what they all have in common, I hope you don't tell me that they are deceased, right? In Trinidad and Tobago, we have some change leaders that would have tried to attempt at instituting change, and behind these changes were these gentlemen, namely Arthur Napoleon Raymond Robinson, George Michael Chambers, and Gordon Draper. I would start with Mr. Robinson. He was the third Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago from 1986 to 1991. And as a change leader, he had to lead this country through one of the most difficult economic times. And this was mostly due to austerity measures implemented by the IMF, right? And some of these measures for those of us who would remember, and our parents would have included salary cuts, tax increases, because you would remember that at that point they came on with 15% VAT, which was a value-added tax, and a lot of spending cuts from the government itself. And as the head of the government, he had to lead that change. Mr. Chambers was the second Prime Minister, Trinidad and Tobago, from 1981 to 86, right? And due to that time, there was a drastic drop in the oil prices and a decline in oil productivity in Trinidad and Tobago. And he had to sort new and creative ways to generate revenues. And I know some of us in this class may be too young, and I know, sir, you would be quite aware of the 10% cut in salary and the subsidies. It's not the first time that subsidies were taken away, and water, electricity, telephone, bus fares, etc., and government spending was reduced. But the key thing about that, both Mr. Robinson and Mr. Chambers attempted to make political changes to our country as prime ministers on different occasions, from opposing sides of the political divide, and consequently ending in them both being voted out of office. Right? Mr. Gordon Draper, as we all know, he was a public administration minister under the PNM government in the late 90s. And they had a major attempt at public service reform. And his job as a public administration minister was to transform the public service in an effort to make it more friendly, efficient, and effective. An important part of that reform was to change the way public servants' performance would have been assessed. And that is the days that we moved from staff reporting to what we have now as a performance appraisal, the new performance appraisal system, right? And all of this was geared in an effort to make the public service efficient and cost effective. But just like the other change leaders, his efforts were somewhat successful, but on a change of government, the exercise was not fully realized. But today, we would have seen some of these measures that were implemented, and we saw the rollout of the government, e-government services now that we use, and it's there to improve the efficiency and the effectiveness of the public service. Right? Organizations, in order to take this change, they have to adapt to these changes or they would perish. In order to improve, they have to adapt and they have to grow. To achieve this, leaders are expected to be purposeful, inclusive, empowering, ethical, and process-oriented. And we would know from previous lectures that these aspects of the relational leadership are fundamental to working smarter and being more effective. To overcome these many problems, one solution is to have better change management. Right? A big problem for today's organization is the failure to adapt to all these changes in the environment. Although there are many reasons for the failure to change and adapt, a primary solution to the problem is better change leadership. Leaders serve as main roles for change and provide motivation and communication to keep change efforts moving forward. They have vision and describe their vision for the future in vivid terms, right? First part of that is that they rather take the initiative than to follow the status quo. And we all know about the status quo being in our varying organizations. Two, they must demonstrate courage, because with any change comes fear and uncertainty. And they must demonstrate courage so that the followers will understand that this is the path we must go. Three, they must believe in the employees' capabilities and their abilities to assume their responsibilities. So followers do have a very important role to play in change leaders. Four, they're going to assimilate and articulate values that promote adaptability. And five, they must learn from their mistakes. And six, they are able to manage complexity and uncertainty and ambiguity. And this speaks to how they would manage crisis whenever they arrive. I want to hand you over to Mr. Wallace to take you through the other slides. Mr. Wallace.
Thank you, God. Afternoon, Mr. Bisu and class. Today I will be dealing with the topic of leading major change in business and organization. A big problem for today's organizations is the failure to adapt to changes in the environment. The rapidity of social, economic, and technological changes means that organizations have to be perpetually changing and adapting to keep pace. Leaders serve as the main role models for change and provide the motivation and communication to keep change efforts moving forward. Good leaders throughout the organization can facilitate change and help their organizations adapt to external threats and new opportunities. Leaders or change leadership should know and be able to recognize that change process has stages. It is not something that can just fixed overnight, but requires implementation of various steps. This can be exemplified to that of Lego building blocks. Understand that each step is important and critical to successful implementation. Skipping stages or making critical mistakes at any stage can cause this process to fail. There are no shortcuts, rather critical steps that must be built upon. 3. It takes time throughout the entire process and at each stage. Leaders pay careful attention to each stage, ensuring that all the necessary components are in place before moving on to the next. Leaders must assume responsibility for guiding, coaching, empowering, and mentoring employees as the organization grows through the change process. Here's an acronym that you should remember when you are leading change in a leadership role. It's called CRN. The model was adapted for business and project management from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who developed the change curve to explain the grieving process. The acronym CRN stands for the stages most of us go through as we adapt to change. Change is inevitable. The CRN model helps you to lead more competently through that change. What is the CRN acronym? The S stands for shock. This response is often characterized by strong feelings and emotions of fear, or it might show up as denial that the change is even happening at all. A is for anger. Shock can manifest into anger or anxiety once people realize the implications of change. They might be highly defensive, belligerent, or passive-aggressive. R is for rejection or resistance. During the rejection phase, they reject the need for change. They might deflect, identify loads of other issues, and support their case with logic and reasoning. A is for acceptance. This stage occurs when they are coming to terms with the change and are ready to accept or live with it. When people begin to embrace or accept the change, the benefits start to become visible to them. H is for hope or healing. When the person is now asking for help, signs include a lift in energy and motivation. The 8-step process for leading change was cultivated from over 4 decades of observations of Dr. John Coulter, a professor of leadership at the Harvard Business School, an author. He identified and extracted the success factors and combined them into a methodology. 8-step process for leading change. This video will help explain the 8-step process of change.
Hi, everyone.
Guys, we're not getting your audio. Hello?
Yeah.
Noel, we're not getting your audio. Did you toggle the switch on the way in when you were
Yes, sir, we did.
I'm so sure, you know, because we had no problems with this before.
All right. Stop share
Go out
more.
and,
Yeah.
go out and come back in and see if you get it to work. Oh, okay. I think I know what the problem is. Do you have the video not embedded, but in your you can find it on YouTube where you got it?
Yes, we can.
Try that and see. Instead of showing it from the presentation. Any progress on that?
No, sir. We gotta share what in your
No, just minimize this and go to the YouTube page that video you want to show. Let's see if we get the audio coming up there better. Also, okay, no, try that and see what's going on.
sir?
Well, I'm not seeing anything that's playing, so I can't.
Yeah.
And I'm not hearing anything, so. All right, try going out and coming back in and making sure you toggle the switch to share computer audio. When you click on share, read that dialog box properly before you actually click to share anything. Did you select?
Yes, we did, sir.
No, did you select a document or the entire screen?
That's not right. That's not. Stop sharing again. Sharing and all. We did a document.
No, select the entire screen.
Are you seeing that there, sir?
Yeah, bring up this video again and let's see if it's working now. You'd have to go to right. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone, and welcome
Now
to
we
Big
hear you.
Ideas Growing Minds. We are so happy you're here. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. And with that out of the way, let's begin the video. Today's big idea comes from Harvard Business School professor and renowned change expert John P. Cotter. In this video, we will walk you through his 8-step change model as it is presented in his famous book, Leading Change. The 8-step process for leading change was cultivated from over 4 decades of Dr. Cotter's observations of countless leaders and organizations as they were trying to transform or execute their strategies. He identified and extracted the success factors and combined them into a methodology, the award-winning 8-step process for leading change. Step 1. Create a sense of urgency. You can't appeal to people with data and facts alone. You must also account for how people feel. This step is all about igniting the hearts and minds of your people. You have to identify, articulate, and communicate the need for change, rather than just a want for change. Compared with other steps in the change process, Phase 1 can sound easy. It isn't. And many companies fail already in this first phase. Often, failure occurs because senior management underestimates how hard it is to motivate people to change. Starting a transformation requires the accumulative cooperation of many individuals. Without motivation, people won't change. Step 2. Building a guiding coalition. A coalition is defined as a temporary alliance between 2 or more parties that come together to achieve a common goal. In Cotter's universe, the guiding coalition is a group of stakeholders that come together to enable the desired change. It can take many shapes, but must consist of members from multiple layers of the hierarchy, represent many functions, and receive information about the organization from all levels. The coalition can help you ensure there is support for change throughout the organization. Step 3. Form a strategic vision and initiatives. Most change initiatives are complex and complicated. For this reason, creating a powerful vision is a useful way of generating support from the whole organization. Always remember to complement your vision with strategic initiatives in the form of targeted and coordinated activities that will help make your vision a reality. Step 4. Enlist an army. Your vision needs to be thoroughly communicated throughout the organization. This step is all about soliciting a volunteer army, a sizable body of employees who are excited and able to take action on the strategic initiatives linked to your vision. Here is an excellent opportunity to utilize the guiding coalition, as between them they are likely to have networks in every area of the business. Step 5. Enable action by removing barriers. In order to remove barriers, you must identify them. Think about why past initiatives have failed. Did they get off to a good start? At what stage did they fail? Did they actually get completed but then just forgotten? Barriers can be commonly accepted statements that, while appearing helpful, can hinder the planned change. It can be statements like, "We tried to change before, it didn't work." Other common barriers include silos, financial targets, complacency, and regulations. Step 6. Generate short-term wins. Change processes often take a while before they reap any rewards. This can cause a decline in support if individuals think their efforts have been wasted. For this reason, it is important to demonstrate advantages of the change by creating short-term wins. A win is anything, big or small, that help you move towards your change opportunity. Collect, categorize, and communicate your wins as early and often as possible. Step 7. Sustain acceleration. Cotter argues that many change projects fail because victory is declared too early. It is important to sustain and cement the change long after it has been implemented, so keep setting goals for continued improvement. Step 8. Institute change. This step is all about sustaining the change in the long run. Simply changing the habits and processes of employees is not always enough to instill a culture change across the organization. The changes should become part of the core of your organization to have a lasting effect. Keeping senior stakeholders engaged and celebrating individuals who adopt the change will help cementing the change. And there you have it, Cotter's 8-step change management model. We hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to give it a like. Take care and see you soon. Hi, everyone.
Just to reiterate the main points of the 8-stage process. 1. Establish a sense of urgency. Leaders must involve the creation of a coalition group. Leaders must develop a vision and strategy, communicate, empower employees, generate short-term wins, keep up the urgency of change, and make the changes stick. Leading everyday changes. Gradual strategies for gradual change. Sometimes the need for significant change is constrained by various circumstances that prevent initiating bold changes, or managers recognize that aggressive moves would provoke strong resistance. Good leaders influence workers daily to gradually shift attitudes, assumptions, and behaviors toward a desired future. When the individual leaders throughout the organization are involved in daily change efforts, they have a powerful cumulative effect. This can be achieved by creative self-expression. This is the least conspicuous way to promote change and involves a single leader acting in a way that others will notice and that reflects the values or behaviors he or she wishes to instill in followers. Right words, using the right words. With this strategy, a leader turns an opponent's negative attitudes, comments, or behaviors into opportunities for change that others will notice. Right opportunities. A more public approach is for leaders to look for, create, and capitalize on opportunities for motivating others to change. Alliance building. With strategic alliance building, the leader works closely with others to move issues to the forefront more quickly and directly than would be possible working alone. This is the most public and most political approach to everyday change. In order to be relevant and keep abreast with the changes in the socio-economic environment, leaders recognize the need for the organization to be creative and innovative. Innovation can be defined as the process that an individual or organization undertakes to conceptualize brand new products, processes, and ideas. or to approach existing products, processes, and ideas in new ways. Organizations need creative people to come up with ideas that meet perceived needs, solve problems, or respond to opportunities that can be adopted by the organization. One of the most important tasks leaders today is to harness creative energy of all employees to spur innovation, which is the end result of creativity, and further the interests of the organization. For an organization to be truly innovative, harnessing the creative energy of its members, it should possess these 5 key elements. Alignment. For creative acts that benefit the organization to occur consistently, the interests and actions of everyone should be aligned with the organization's purpose, vision, and goals. Leaders make clear what the company stands for, consistently promote the vision, and clarify the specific goals. In addition, they make a commitment of time, energy, and resources to activities that focus people on innovation. Many organizations have set up separate creative departments or venture teams where ideas can be developed without interference from company bureaucracy or politics. Creative values. Most people have a natural desire to explore and create, which leads them to want to initiate creative activity on their own. Leaders encourage an entrepreneurial spirit by instilling values of risk-taking and exploration and providing the structures and systems that encourage people to explore new ideas. One important outcome is to facilitate idea champions. Idea champions are people who passionately believe in an idea and fight to overcome natural resistance and convince others of its value. Unofficial activity. Employees need to be able to experiment and dream outside of their regular job. Leaders can give people free time for activities that are not officially sanctioned. The best known example is 3M's Post-it notes, one of the 5 most popular 3M products and one that resulted from an engineer's free time experiments with another worker's failure in not very sticky glue. 3M lets employees spend 15% of their time on any project of their own choosing without management approval. Diverse stimuli. It is impossible to know in advance what stimulus will lead to any particular person to come up with a creative idea. The seeds of the idea for Post-it notes were planted when an engineer's bookmarks kept falling out of his church hymn book. Leaders can also provide employees with diverse stimuli by rotating people into different jobs, allowing them time off to participate in volunteer activities, and giving them opportunities to mix with different people from themselves. Organizations can give people opportunities to work with customers, suppliers, and others outside the industry. Internal communication. Creativity flourishes when there is frequent contact with interdisciplinary networks of people at all levels of the organization. Without adequate internal communication and coordination, ideas from creative departments or idea champions cannot be implemented. Leaders should encourage and foster an environment that encourages people to communicate across boundaries. Creativity. Creativity has been defined as the generation of ideas that are both novel and useful for improving efficiency and effectiveness of an organization. Leaders of today's organizations have unlimited resources to encourage creativity. They need employees to contribute new ideas. In addition, people can be more creative when they are helped to be open-minded, curious, and willing to take risks. Leaders, therefore, increase individual creativity by facilitating brainstorming, lateral thinking, and creative intuition. Brainstorming. One good way leaders encourage creativity is to set up brainstorming sessions. Brainstorming uses a face-to-face interactive group to spontaneously suggest a wide range of creative ideas to solve the problem. Google uses this approach by having 8 one-hour-long brainstorming sessions each year. At each session, 6 concepts are pitched to 100 engineers and discussed for 10 minutes each. The goal is to build on and modify each concept. The key to effective brainstorming are no criticism, Group members should not criticize or evaluate ideas in any way during the spontaneous generation of ideas. All ideas are considered valuable. Freewheeling. People should be able to express any idea that comes to mind, no matter how weird or fanciful. Brainstormers should not be timid about expressing creative thinking. Quantity desired. The goal is to generate as many ideas as possible. The more ideas, the better. A large quantity of ideas increases the likelihood of finding excellent solutions. Combining ideas is also encouraged. All ideas belong to the group, and the members should modify and extend ideas wherever possible. Lateral thinking is a set of systematic techniques used for changing mental concepts and perceptions and generating new ones. Most of a person's thinking follows a regular groove and linear pattern from one thought to the next. With lateral thinking, people move sideways to try different perceptions, different concepts, and different points of entry to gain a novel solution. Lateral thinking appears to solve a problem by an unorthodox or apparently illogical method. To stimulate lateral thinking, leaders provide people with opportunities to make novel, creative connections. For example, Nike designers got the idea for a high gloss finish on one of the Air Jordan shoes after visiting a Detroit car show and seeing modified cars. Creative intuition. The creative flash of insight leaders want to awaken is actually the second stage of creativity. Creativity often occurs during a mental pause, a period of mixed tension and relaxation. In the shower or while exercising, driving, walking, or meditating, the mind reverts to a neutral, somewhat unfocused state in which it is receptive to issues or themes that have not been resolved. A temporary activity that is in relatively simple and mindless state can provide the moment for a creative flash from deep in the subconscious. Thus, physical exercise may be as effective as the shower for triggering the appropriate relaxed state that enables creative intuition to break through. This is one of the reasons why it is thought that novelist Stephen King runs several miles most mornings. Thank you. I now hand over to my colleague, Dexter Noel.
Implementing change. Good afternoon, class. Good afternoon, Mr. Mason. We have heard from my two previous colleagues, Mr. Jacobs, who deal with recognizing the need for change, identifying some change leaders. We have heard from Mr. Purnell on implementing the 8-stage process for rapid change, and the 4th stage for simple implementation on a daily basis. Now it's my task to present on implementing change, which is one of the major problems faced by most change leaders in any organization. Leaders frequently see innovation, change, and creativity as a way to strengthen the organization, but many of them view change as only positive and disruptive. A critical aspect of leading people through change is understanding that resistance to change is natural, and there are often legitimate reasons for it. The underlying reason why employees resist change is that it violates the personal compact between employee and the organization. Personal compacts are the reciprocal obligation and commitment between employees and organizations. They will normally include things as job tasks, what is required of the employee, how it is to be done, when it should be done. It includes performance requirements, what is required standards to be termed efficient and effective. It includes evaluation processes. How are we going to measure these performances? And it includes compensation packages, which, as my colleague presented on earlier, deals with a matter of money, 1000101. Right? These are compensation package being offered to public servants at current state. Compact are generally clearly defined and may be in a written form. It may also incorporate elements such as mutual trust and dependence, as well as share value between the employees and the organization. When employees perceive that change violates that personal compact, they are always likely to resist change. Now let's look at tools for implementing change. This will be a short presentation, as the 8-stage model for rapid change was already covered by Mr. Purnell. The gradual strategy for incremental change was also covered. Additionally, leaders use emotional touch. Emotional elements are essential for persuading and influencing others. Effective leaders use elements such as storytelling, metaphors, humor, symbolism, and a personal touch to reach people on emotional levels and sell them on proposed changes. Emotional elements are essential for persuading and influencing others. Thus, leaders should not overlook the importance of emotional elements to overcome the resistance to change. Implementation techniques. Leaders use implementation techniques to smooth the changeover process. This will include communication and training. Open and honest communication is preferred, is perhaps the most single effective way to overcome resistance to change, because it reduces uncertainty, gives employees a sense of control, clarifies the benefits of change, and build trust. Employees also need training to acquire skills for their new roles in the change process and their new responsibilities. Good change leaders make sure people get the training needed to feel comfortable and to perform their new task effectively. Participation and involvement. Participation involves followers in helping to design the changes. Although this approach is time-consuming, it may pay off in the long run, giving people a sense of control over the change activities. They come to understand the change better and become committed to its successful implementation. Coercion. Leaders overcome resistance by threatening employees with the loss of jobs or promotion, or by firing or transferring them. Coercion may be necessary in critical situations when rapid change is needed. For example, a number of top managers at Coca-Cola had to be resigned or let go after refusing to go along with the new CEO's change for revitalizing the sluggish corporation. Coercion may also be needed for administrative change that flows from the top down, such as downsizing the workforce. However, as a general rule, this approach to change is not advisable because it leaves people angry at leaders, and the change may be sabotaged. We will now address the negative impact of change. And this is more centered around the human capital of any organization, as we will identify, by most businesses realize that people are the most important asset they own. Effectively and humanely leading change is one of the greatest challenges for leaders. Even when the change appears to be good for individual employees or the organization, it can also be inconvenient, painful, and downright scary. This leads to decreased morals, low commitment, diminished trust of employees. It also has the effect of high level of stress. Employees need to rapidly adjust to new tasks and system, and possibly the loss of jobs. The most difficult changes are those that are structure related. This will include redefining positions and responsibilities, re-engineering the company, redesigning jobs, department or division, downsizing of entire organization. Downsizing has sometimes been replaced by the word right-sizing, which will determine efficiency that is being achieved. Downsizing is one of the most difficult situations leaders face today. They must handle the layoff in a way that will ease the pain and tension for department employees, maintain the trust, morals, and performance of employees who remain within the organization. Downsizing refers to the intentional reducing of the organization size of workforce. Leadership and downsizing. As I said earlier, downsizing refers to the intentional reducing the size of the company's workforce that may result from re-engineering projects, merger and acquisitions, global competition, the trend towards outsourcing, and the transition from an industry to an information economy, all of which have been touched by Mr. Jacob in his presentation earlier on the reason why change has been rapidly taking place in the global market. Techniques leaders use to smooth the processes and ease tension. Leaders should provide advance notice with as much information as possible. Even when they are not certain about exactly what is going to happen, leaders should be open and honest with the employee as much as possible. Leaders can also involve employees in shaping the criteria for which job will be cut or which employees will leave the company. Another step they use is offering incentive packages for employees to leave voluntarily. We may know this as VSEP, right? Or early separation packages by some companies, right? They also provide assistance for displaced workers, such as training programs, extended benefits, outplacement assistance, and counseling service for both employees and their families, which can ease the trauma associated with the loss of job. We all can recall in 2019, Petrotrain, which was being the main source of our revenue, was short-lived by the immediate closure of the industry. This led the workforce of over 5,000 people disenfranchised, aggrieved, hurting families without jobs, right? These acts that leaders take to smooth this transition process shows remaining workers that leaders care about people. As I close, even the best led organization may sometimes need to lay off employees in a turbulent environment. With proper planning, leaders can obtain positive results if they handle downsizing in a way that enables remaining organization members to be motivated, productive, and committed to a better future. I now hand back over to my colleague, Mr. Jacob.
Yeah, thank you, Dexter. And just as we would have started off in the beginning, we would have understand from leading change is the only constant there is. Change is inevitable, and the increased pace of change in today's global environment has led to even greater problems, especially for leaders struggling to help the organizations adapt. A major factor that we would have seen from the whole instruction this afternoon is that the organizations who fail to adapt to changes in the global environment is due to a lack of proper change leadership. So as we change, leaders must be cognizant that leading through crisis is more than managing usual events. They need to plan for different situations, and overall communication with all stakeholders is very important. They need to be proactive rather than reactive, and look at a crisis as an opportunity to learn and grow and transform. It's often said that you must be the change that you want to see. And as potential change leaders, we are expected to make these changes in our various organizations on our return to work. For some of us, if not all of us, we would encounter an obstacle called maintaining the status quo. I'm sure you would have heard things like, until better can be done, let the worst continue. This is the way we have always done this. And if it's not broken, don't fix it. But I want you to think about it. And not substantial improvements been made to everyday things in our life. What would have been our position? Example, electricity, running water, telephones, computers, vehicles, and there are numerous others. And certainly, this would be a very uncomfortable situation if we have to revert to the dark ages. So there we see that change is constant. And as even we go back to work, you would encounter a rider or jockey called status quo, who would always have problems with a horse called progress and change, right? And just to borrow from some change words from Churchill, so Winston Churchill, to improve is to change. To be perfect is to change often, right? Again, we have to become committed, strong change leaders, and it's crucial for success of change. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your attention this afternoon, and I now open the floor for any questions that you may have.
Yeah, no question.
Do you have a reference? Yes, sir.
It wasn't me, but are there any questions, guys? Okay, if not, I'm gonna stop the recording. Anton, you wanted to ask something?
No, sir.
Okay.